is facing a twin-track growth scenario, with North Africa growing at 0.7%, just below 1%, and Sub-Saharan Africa, including Ivory Coast, growing at 5.5%. Within that spread, Ivory Coast will grow at something like -7%, and Libya -9%. The best performing country is Ghana, expected to grow at 12%, followed by Ethiopia at 10%. So that's the spread of growth across Africa. You should put all of that together, then the growth rate comes to about 3.7% of GDP growth. Other regions in the world, India and China being the strong performers globally, are expected to grow much closer to 10%. But still you have a number of African countries having rates of growth above 7%, and that's very impressive. First of all, it's got to do with good economic management in that region. You've got very good people running the central banks, ministries of finance, and that's really commendable. Secondly, is performance of the tourism sector and the services sector in East Africa. And also other parts of that region do have agricultural performance that is commendable. But I must also say that there are risks to that region which have to do with a drought where it's having a big impact in places such as Somalia. Also, the other source of performance is the whole area of infrastructure investment. You see that in Ethiopia and in other places such as Kenya. Libya is in quite a conundrum politically. There's a war going on, and that's what is hurting the economy. Certainly all revenues are being hurt by the war. We're hopeful that a resolution will be found soon so that the economy could go back to normal. Of course, the whole Libyan situation is having an impact on other African countries, having a negative impact on Tunisia, for a start, which is a close neighbor with falling tourism numbers. And then in terms of Sub-Saharan Africa, it's having an impact in terms of migrants who have left Libya, are back in their homes, and therefore are no longer sending financial remittances back home, and they're unemployed. So that's a negative impact on Africa. It's a large economy. It's a very important country, and there's a history of solving its own internal conflict. The whole resolution of apartheid, in my view, gives South Africa a mandate, a moral authority to assist with negotiations across Africa. But also South Africa is expected to play a role on a more bilateral basis. In a financial sense. If you take Southern Africa, for instance, South Africa would be expected from time to time to assist a country in financial trouble, for it to get out of that trouble and hopefully come back with a big portfolio or a growing portfolio around private sector support and investment in Africa. Basically, we have a few pillars that we focus on as a bank. Infrastructure for us is very important, so we invest a bulk of our resources in infrastructure. We also support the private sector because we realize that the public sector alone cannot create jobs. It is our hope that by closing that infrastructure gap in Africa, which is so huge, we'll be able to push Africa's GDP rate of growth to a much higher level in a way that would help reduce poverty and inequality.